Next gland is the pineal gland. In human, pineal gland or epiphysis is located behind the third ventricle of the brain and is formed of parenchymal cells and interstitial cells. It secretes the hormone called melatonin, which plays a central role in the regulation of circadian rhythm of our body. What is meant by circadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm is the 24-hour cycle of biological activities associated with natural periods of light and darkness. That means 24 மணி நேரம் நம்ம உடம்புல நடக்கக்கூடிய biological activities that is called as a circadian rhythm. Example for that, sleep wake cycle, body temperature, appetite, these are some of the example. It also regulates the timing of sexual maturation of gonads. In addition, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, menstrual cycle, and defense mechanism of our body. This pineal gland plays an important role in menstrual cycle and defense mechanism of our body. That means it produces immunity. The next gland is the thyroid gland. The butterfly-shaped thyroid gland is a bilobed gland located below the larynx on each side of the upper trachea. It is the largest endocrine gland in the body. Its two lateral lobes are connected by a median tissue mass called isthmus. Each lobe is made up of many lobules. The lobules consist of follicles. This is called as acini. Each acinus is lined with glandular, cuboidal or squamous epithelium. The lumen of acinus is filled with colloid, a thick glycoprotein mixture consisting of thyroglobulin molecules. Hormones of the thyroid gland are often called the metabolic hormone. The follicular cells of thyroid gland secretes two hormones, namely triiodothyronin, that is T3, and thyroxine or tetraiodothyronin, that is T4. The parafollicular cells it is called as C cells of thyroid gland, secrete a hormone called thyrocalcitonin. Iodine is essential for the normal synthesis of thyroid hormone. Thyroid releasing hormone from the hypothalamus stimulates the adenohypophysis to secrete this thyroid stimulating hormone, which in turn stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone shows a negative feedback mechanism on the hypothalamus and pituitary. That means it sends a negative feedback mechanism. இப்போ bloodல வந்து thyroxine level அதிகமாக இருக்குன்னா the information is gone to this through this thyroid stimulating hormone to hypothalamus. Hypothalamus உடனே என்ன பண்ணும், அதை இன்ஹிபிட் பண்ணும், ஸ்டாப் பண்ணும். புரிஞ்சுதா? செக்ரிஷனை ஸ்டாப் பண்ணும். So this is the negative feedback mechanism, right? If you see the functions of thyroxine T4, thyroxine regulates the basal metabolic rate. What is BMR? Basal metabolic rate means the amount of heat produced in our body in a unit period of time. That is called as basal metabolic rate and the body heat production. It stimulates protein synthesis and promotes growth. It is essential for the development of skeletal and nervous system. Thyroxine plays an important role in maintaining blood pressure. It reduces the serum cholesterol levels. Optimum level of thyroxine in blood is necessary for gonadal function. If you see the functions of thyrocalcitonin, so it may be asked in 2-mark question. What is the function of TCT? What are the functions of TCT? TCT, thyrocalcitonin, is a polypeptide hormone which regulates blood calcium and phosphate level. It reduces the blood calcium level and opposes the effect of parathyroid hormone. Next, we move on to the parathyroid gland. In human, 4 tiny parathyroid glands are found in the posterior wall of the thyroid glands. This gland is composed of 2 types of cells, the chief cells and the oxyphil cells. So what are the 2 types of cells? Chief cells and oxyphil cells. The chief cell secretes parathyroid hormone and the functions of oxyphil cells are not known. So parathyroid hormone or parathormone So this parathyroid hormone is an hyperglycemic hormone. That means it increases the calcium level in the blood. It is a peptide hormone involved in controlling the calcium and phosphate homeostasis. The secretion of this PTH is controlled by calcium level in the blood. It increases the blood calcium level by stimulating the osteoclast. Osteo means bone, clast means destroying. So it destroys the bone to dissolve the bone matrix. As a result, calcium and phosphate are released into the blood. This parathyroid hormone enhances the reabsorption of calcium and excretion of phosphate by the renal tubule and promotes activation of vitamin D to increase calcium absorption by intestinal mucosal cells. Next, we move on to the thymus gland. Thymus gland is partially an endocrine and partially a lymphoid organ. Thymus is a partially an endocrine gland and it's partially a lymphoid organ. Lymphoid organs means it produces immunity to our body. So it is a bilobe structure located just above the heart and aorta and behind the sternum. Sternum is the bone that is present in the rib cage, right? So it is covered by a fibrous capsule. Anatomically, it is divisible into outer cortex and inner medulla. It secretes 4 hormones such as thymulin, thymosin, thymopoietin, and thymic humoral factor. The primary functions of thymus is the production of immunocompetent. Thymus ஓட வேலையே நம்மளுக்கு immune system enhance பண்ணும். T lymphocytes or T cells which provide cell mediated immunity. So what is cell mediated immunity? So cell mediated means ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட செல்லை பார்த்து அழிக்கிறது. அதுதான் cell mediated. For example, cancer cells, right? Old age people are often sick. Why? Old age people வந்து sick ஆகுறாங்க ஏன்? Due to the degeneration of thymus gland, thymosin level decreases. As a result, the immunity of old age people becomes weak and cause sickness. வயசு ஆக ஆக தைமஸ் கிளாண்ட் டீஜெனரேட் ஆகும், தைமோசின் லெவல் கம்மியாகும். அப்போ நோய் எதிர்ப்பு சக்தி கம்மியாகிறதுனால ஓல்ட் ஏஜ் பீப்புள் பிகம் ஆஃபன் வெரி சிக். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் இஸ் த adrenal gland. A pair of adrenal gland are located on the anterior end of the kidneys. Hence, it is also called as suprarenal glands. Anatomically, the outer region is called as cortex and the inner region is called as medulla. The adrenal cortex have 3 distinct zones, namely zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. So, what are the 3 distinct regions of adrenal cortex? Zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Zona glomerulosa, an outer thin layer, constitutes 15% of adrenal cortex and secretes mineralocorticoids. Zona fasciculata, the middle widest layer, constitutes 75% of the adrenal cortex and secretes glucocorticoids such as cortisol, corticosterone, and trace amounts of adrenal androgen and estrogen. Zona reticularis, an inner zone of the adrenal cortex, constitutes 10% of adrenal cortex and it secretes adrenal androgen, trace amounts of estrogen and glucocorticoids. So it may be asked in 3 mark question, what are the 3 distinct zones of adrenal cortex and write its functions. Next is the adrenal medulla. It is the central part of the adrenal gland and is composed of ovoid and columnar cells which are found around the network of blood capillaries. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are the 2 hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla. Both adrenaline and noradrenaline are also called catecholamines. So what are catecholamines? This adrenaline and noradrenaline are catecholamines, right? If you see the functions of adrenal hormones, glucocorticoid stimulates gluconeogenesis, lipolysis, and proteolysis. Lysis means breakdown. So it breaks down the lipid, protein, and the glucose. Cortisol is a glucocorticoid involving in maintaining the cardiovascular and kidney function. It produces anti-inflammatory reaction and suppresses the immune response. It stimulates the RBC production and it is also known as stress combat hormone, so which is called as a stress combat hormone cortisol, right? Next is the mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids regulates water and electrolyte balance of our body. Aldosterone stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water and eliminates potassium and phosphate ions through excretion. Thus, it helps in maintaining the electrolyte, osmotic pressure, and blood pressure. Adrenal androgen plays a role in hair growth in the axial regions, pubis, and face during puberty. The adrenal medulla secretes the hormones adrenaline and noradrenaline and are referred to as 3F hormone. 3F means flight, fight, and fright. I repeat, fight, flight, and fright. Adrenaline increases liver glycogen breakdown into glucose and increases the release of fatty acids from fat cells. During emergency, it increases the heartbeat rate and blood pressure. It stimulates the smooth muscles of the cutaneous, that means the skin, and the visceral arteries to decrease blood flow. It increases blood flow to the skeletal muscles, thereby increases the metabolic rate of skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and the nervous tissues. So these are some of the glands that is present in our body.